Horror Lies.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 Apostrophe. I am your regular Wednesday evening host here at Body Bags. It is week 551 here at Body Bags in our new format, Monday through Friday, open weekends. Definitely check out our any videos that may happen to drop either by us individually or as a collaboration, collaborative effort, as we have already dropped one. Thank you for the watch. If you've watched, if you haven't, check it out. A little conversation me and Lonnie had in terms of our top 5 John Carpenter. Episode 2 is already in the dock. That'll drop, I think, early morning on the 18th, maybe. Seems right. Anyways, top 5, Lucio Fulci. This one is Lonnie and myself, Tara Tats, and Glenn dropped in. BDG Reviews, our Monday reviewer. And then we've got 3 scheduled, I think, for the 31st. And that right now looks like all 5 of us reviewers will be part of that. And it is a look at foreign horror. Now, we're not talking to each other about it. Our lists, man, our lists are... they should be completely really varied against one another. It ought to be fun to see. Now, our Fulci list ended up being that way, so definitely check that one out. That drops. But Kino Lorber, label. So they got started, 77, if I remember, as an outgrowth of Janus Films. Vice president over there, started up Kino as a international distribution company. Started off with art house films, I think, exploitation, maybe art house. Of course, Kino has just grown over the years, and quite a remarkable little company in terms of it being a label. This is what you get, man. Let's take a look at this real quick. You've got an audio commentary by director Val Guest, moderated by Hammer film historian Marcus Hearn. This is a Hammer film, right? And by the way, the X there, man, the X was sort of a shot across the bow, man. That was a little message to the ratings board and whatnot that, hey, we are who we are, so get ready. And The Creeping Unknown is actually a very censored version of this version of the film, which, you know, released in the UK. Audio commentary by film historian, screenwriter Gary Girani. The best part about this, and I wish more labels would do this, John Carpenter on Quatermass. Carpenter on Quatermass, and on-camera interview with the legendary filmmaker John Carpenter. You know, I will never see Prince of Darkness, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, The Thing, Tobe Hooper's Life Force. These are all sort of influenced very heavily by Quatermass in its films. Very interesting. The Quatermass Experiment, comparing the versions. So they kind of compare up the Creeping Unknown with the Quatermass Experiment. And you just see how much time got censored out for U.S. distribution. It's really, really sad. Interview with Val Guest by Marcus Hearn, the film historian. Trailers from Hell, and that's a fun with Ernest Dickerson. The alternate main title, Quatermass Experiment, the Creeping Unknown trailer, and then a bunch of other trailers. The Day the Earth Caught Fire, The Land Unknown, 4D Man, The Last Man on Earth, Vincent Price. The Earth Dies Screaming. That's Glenn. That's where I remember. We mentioned this the other night in our little group chat, but that's where I remember seeing that title. So that's interesting. So anyways, Kino, man, I'm telling you, as far as extras, and Kino as a label, and the reason we do label weeks here at Body Bags is because we want to show you why it is that certain labels do what they do, or what they are doing. Another example outside of Kino is Severn. Just got this in the mail. Just look at all the extras on there. I've already looked at a couple of them. This is, of course, Michele Sauvé's film, The Sect, and by Severn. But you know, this is why we pay attention to labels here at Body Bags. Certain labels, they really do go above and beyond in terms of what they package up for you in terms of their physical media release. And physical media, as Jason always says, does matter, always will matter. You know, from 88 Films, I got Anthropophagus and Absurd coming to me, and that is the first week of July. I'm really looking forward to opening up that package and seeing exactly what they've packed into there. But, you know, labels are important just simply because certain labels do certain things that other labels just don't do, or they do it better than other labels. A lot of times with labels, you know, one label may re-release a film that's already been released on another label. They may, a lot of those extras will carry over from the previous release onto this new with a few new things added in. A lot of it is copyright. A lot of it is in terms of just what transfers over, what doesn't, what they're willing to pay, not pay for the copyright, to be a copyright holder. And, you know, there's always going to be questions about why certain things don't happen or why certain movies are never picked up by distribution, like, you know, Blood Beach from the 80s. I mean, that's a perfect Scream Factory release, right? Or, you know, why is it that on the UK release of The Thing from Another World, 1951, why is it that the John Carpenter commentary track, you heard me right, John Carpenter provided a commentary track on that film for a UK distribution, but when the Blu-ray just came out stateside for The Thing from Another World, for some reason that commentary track did not cross over with it, and that is a shame, because John studied the film in college and he offers some quite very interesting comments on that film, and in terms of its relationship to his own The Thing. And here again, to segue back into what we're talking about, Kino specifically, he talks about how on this interview, the influence of Quatermass, his first experience with the film, where he first saw the film, the sort of what goes into Quatermass, reminding us about the world at the time. You know, atomic is the new atomic era as a result of the end of World War II. You know, so the accompanying Cold War hysteria, UFO hysteria, you got Roswell and all of these things, the very fear of communism, all these things are working together to create a really interesting era of films, and Quatermass being three of those films. Of course, it first saw its daylight on BBC television, or the telly, as they would say probably. Nigel Neal, of course, offered the first script, was not happy with the first theatrical presentations of these films, or being turned into films. In fact, John even says on this interview that Nigel was quite a handful to work with. And if you know anything about Nigel, his was the first script offered for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So a movie very much influenced by the Quatermass Experiment and that world of Quatermass. You got Richard Wordsworth needs to be mentioned here. He is your main, I would say, like your main protagonist slash antagonist. He sort of plays both sides of the coin and brilliantly. I don't understand how it is that, I mean, he had a pretty long career, but I'm just surprised that his career wasn't more pronounced, I guess. He does an absolutely brilliant job as an astronaut, one of three that comes back on a, well, I was about to say failed rocket ship mission to space, compliments of Quatermass, Professor Quatermass, Dr. Quatermass, who is like your modern day Elon Musk, I guess is an appropriate characterization. And so, against what others may tell him, he is pushing the boundaries of science, even with its negative consequences. And here we have one, right? So Richard Wordsworth, who plays Victor Croonen, I think that's his last name. So we find out very quickly, or it's as we get into the story, that he is one of three surviving astronauts. The other two have been nothing but a pile of jelly. And we learn that he, as an alien entity, somehow got onto the rocket ship and took over Victor. and then presumably absorbed the other two astronauts. And so when the rocket ship lands on Earth, he is a survivor who is being looked after in a hospital. Ultimately, it's his wife will bust him out of the hospital. And then it's not long before he's loose, an alien monster on the loose, absorbing anything it comes into contact. But the brilliant part of his acting is, it's that flip of the coin. It's that struggle between Victor and the alien. And there are like two key moments here, like where he does not absorb his wife. He doesn't kill her. She's the one who sort of puts a plan into motion to get him released, or to get him out of the hospital, somewhat illegally. And in the car, he begins to act in a way that raises her suspicion. And ultimately, he could take her. He could absorb her right there on the spot. And he does not. And you wonder if Victor isn't sort of having some semblance of a word to say in terms of what it absorbs and not absorbs, at least in the early stages, right, of the alien taking over. Another one is a scene cut right out of Frankenstein, where he's hiding out on a boat, and this little girl is there having a makeshift tea party, and he of course hears her and comes out. He's somewhat intrigued, I guess. And he so much wants, it's the one thing that's stretched across his face is the want, the desire, just the want of normality back in his life. He wants his body back. I'm sure he wants, now he never talks. It's so much as just comes from his emotions, how he carries himself as an actor, his facial expressions, his eyes. And so as she, and this is of course Jane Asher, is it? And she'll be like in the Stone Tape, and other things, a lot of other things. She tries to convince him to have a tea party with her, and of course he's so beyond freaked out, or the struggle between him and the alien, he ultimately just knocks her little baby doll out of her hand, sort of decapitating the baby doll, but not her, and he sort of runs off. There's a great set piece where we see him hiding in the bushes, and he's already transforming into something else. But, the cameras obscure that. There's only so much they can do, so much they can show. A lot of it is after the fact, but that after effect is what gets censored out, at least for U.S. distribution, which is really a shame, because this movie is beyond brilliant. I absolutely love this one. I love the second one. The third one is the third one in the line for me. Don Levy he's changed out for another actor for Quatermass. The story is great and everything, but it's like 10 years after, and it's too bad Val Guest didn't give us the third piece, not knowing what that would have looked like under him. But leading into this great set piece is a rampage through the zoo, in which now he is an alien that is slowly manifesting himself through Victor, becoming this creature, otherworldly creature. And we see the after effect of what he has done in this zoo. And I mean, it don't matter the size of the creature, the animal, he is an alien, and he presumably very quickly overpowers, conquers, absorbs anything in his path, leading to a pretty good finality, final moments there at the end, in which is one of the greatest endings ever, where Quatermass, who is there for the finale, it's almost kind of like the end of Casablanca. He's just sort of walking out sternly, and guys comes running up to him, what do we do, kind of thing, and he's like, start again. And you're like, oh my gosh, no, regardless of what he has just potentially unleashed on the earth, and what that could have meant, he's going right back to work. Gotta love it, man. Just such a great ending. But like with this little documentary with our interview with Carpenter, you sort of get some insight into how that impacted him as a kid growing up, seeing it in the theater, how that must have been awesome. And then, of course, you know, I haven't really tapped in a lot. I've tapped into some of the stuff, the interviews and stuff, but I might have listened to one of the historians. I think I listened to Val Guest's commentary track. So a lot of neat working insight, in the relationship between him and Nigel Neal, and just how bumpy that was, but how he got the script to begin with. He wasn't even a science fiction horror fan, but having read, he was on vacation having a copy of the script for the Quatermass Experiment, read it and just absolutely enthralled, fell in love with the subject matter. And so there you go. I mean, history is made. It's pretty cool. So, I mean, that sort of is the plot narrative in a nutshell. A little bit of history of Kino. Lorber as a quite an interesting label, which offers a lot of, and this is why, again, we pay attention to these things. It's the extras. And so that's like good stuff. That's why physical media matters. It's not just the film and the film in of itself. If that's the only thing we got, well, just having a hard copy of it is important, because you have control over that, and no streaming platform company is going to take any of that away or censor it for you, or even just water it down in a way by taking certain things out or removing, scrubbing digitally things out. Having the original uncensored film in your library is important in terms of what ought to be our stance on anti-censorship. Look, there's films you're never going to watch, and maybe that's because of the content, the subject matter, and that's neither here or there. That's fine. But films ought not to be censored or scrubbed out for political correctness reasons, or whatever the case may be. And so physical media, man, really, really does matter. And so here in Label Week, I'll wrap it up here, you'll see Kino all throughout the week, maybe redemption title here or there, potentially. And just a little deeper look into Kino as a label. They are a great label. If you just go onto their website, Kino Lorber, you'll just see just an incredible inventory library of films for sale, as with any major label distribution company. So here, Body Bags, week 551. It is Label Week. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support of those, again, who watched our first episode of our collaborative effort. More of those to come, as I said earlier. And just thank you for all the support throughout the years. Again, 3,000 original reviews over 9 years, 500 plus weeks. Quite an amazing feat when you think about it. And just a multitude of reviewers over these 9 years who all contributed some really great reviews, some great work, going back to the original founders, of course. So here at Body Bags, your Wednesday reviewer, VHS82 apostrophe, aka Rob from Georgia. Have a great week, and as always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.